Hello and welcome to Highland Showcase, bringing you a snapshot of life in the Highlands of Scotland. We're here today on Embo Beach where we joined Roddy Riddle for one of his training sessions. More from him later. But first of all, let's take a look at what's in this week's show. Roddy Riddle prepares for his desert marathon. Scooty and the Skyhooks blow the roof off the ironworks during their sellout performance. We take a look back to the vintage rally held in Tain and speak to some enthusiasts and restorers. And Colin McGregor has an arresting experience as he prepares his bike for the long summer ahead. Roddy Riddle is a man who relishes a challenge. Taking control of his life after being diagnosed with a major illness, nothing stands in his way.
I'm doing the Marathon des Sables, which is a 155-mile race through the Sahara Desert in Morocco. It's over 6 days and the longest stage is 55 miles and it can be up to temperatures of 50 degrees. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes just under 5 years ago, so when I was diagnosed with the condition I didn't know anything about the condition, so I was quite embarrassed at the time. When I started running again after starting injecting insulin, I decided I wanted to do something really big to raise awareness for the condition of type 1 diabetes. So up popped the Marathon des Sables, which as it turns out is the toughest foot race in the world. So if I can get through the Marathon des Sables as a type 1 diabetic, if it gives confidence to other people with diabetes to even just do 3 20-minute jogs or go to the gym a couple of times a week, then it's mission accomplished. And on the way I've been raising money for 2 diabetes charities as well.
Okay Lynn, can you tell us first of all about what it was like when Roddy was first diagnosed?
When we first thought he'd lost an awful lot of weight, it was actually quite worrying first. And then, when he was diagnosed, it was a wee bit of a relief for me anyway, that it wasn't something more serious. It could have been a bad outcome 2 weeks before Finlay was born as well. So it was a worrying time for us all.
But he's gone on to control this very well.
Very well. I think because of his diet that he's been, he had before being an ex-cyclist, what he ate was pasta and quite good. He knew what was good for him.
So you've obviously been used to Roddy doing fitness and cycling anyway before. What was your reaction when he told you that he was planning doing the marathon?
Well, it was completely out of the blue. He wanted to do something to challenge him, and he'd asked various people what he should actually do because he's done quite a bit before. And one person came up with Marathon des Sables and he thought, oh yes, but there was a waiting list, but he managed to get in, which I didn't think he would, and he's gone through and he's preparing for it, as well, so it's a bit of a worry, but he'll do it.
So from your side of things, all the training that he's been doing, how does that go hand in hand with family life?
It's fine. He sort of works round the family. It's not really interfering that much, but he is doing it before and after. They go to bed and stuff like that. So it's hard work.
In the early 80s I took up cycling when I was 13 and started racing when I was 14. Got my first cap for Scotland when I was about 18 years old and raced regularly for Scotland, including riding in the 1994 Commonwealth Games. I've also raced for Great Britain in a few occasions as well, and there's not many places around the world that I haven't actually either trained or competed in. So,
how did it come about that you realised that you had diabetes?
I had a severe weight loss. I'd lost about 3 stone over a period of 6 weeks. One of the conditions is you feel really tired and drained, so I certainly wasn't able to do exercise at the time. I was drinking loads and loads of water and just constantly going to the toilet because that's the only way the sugar can get out of your system is through your urine. So my wife got a bit suspect about this, so she did a bit of research on the internet.
My granda, he was a diabetic, and my best friend, one of my friends, is a diabetic as well, so I've got a little bit of knowledge of the symptoms. The weight loss was so severe, though, it was frightening. He was really 6 stones in weight he lost over a short length of time. The thirst and everything like that, I decided to go on the internet and just see what other, side effects of diabetes were, and really thought that's what it was. So I had my suspicions, and with being on the internet and then getting a testing kit for him through the internet as well.
That arrived on the Monday, did the test, and it came up alarm bells saying, yes, it looks like you've got type 1 diabetes. Came up with a slight problem because I had a ticket for the European Cup final for Rangers down in Manchester, so I realised that if I went to the doctor, there was no way that he would let me go down to see the Cup final. Also, chances of ever seeing Rangers in a European Cup final at the state that they're in any Cup final at the moment, so I thought, right, I'm going to wing it, make an appointment for the Thursday, go to the Cup final, which I did. I went to Cup final, and because I was so tired, I had to have a sleep in the car just before the game. I just felt so drained. I was supposed to share driving back up the road with my friend Stephen, and he had ended up doing all the driving. One of the conditions was my eyesight was blurred as well, so it would have been probably quite dangerous to have driven. Went to the doctor the next day, and doctor did some tests, and he phoned Raigmore Hospital. Raigmore says no, he needs to get up here straight away. So got on my bike from the doctors, rode up to Raigmore. They did loads of tests. The specialist surgeon came in later on in the day after I'd been told, and he goes, how did you get here today? And I went, I cycled. He goes, you're lucky to be alive. He says, a person without diabetes has blood glucose level of between 4 and 7. My blood glucose that day was 45.6. So yeah, he said it was a very special reading. That was his words. I got sent over to the diabetic nurse to be shown how to inject for the first time, which they straight away put me onto insulin. I started feeling better. The nurse talked me through a few things, and then the diabetes dietitian talked me about what to expect over the next period. They told me I was definitely not allowed to run for at least 6 weeks, and they would just monitor that. So when I left, I shook the nurse's hand, and it sort of took her aback a wee bit, and she goes, you're shaking my hand. I says, yeah, well, you've been really, really helpful. She goes, I can't believe how well you've taken being diagnosed with type 1. A lot of people just can't accept it. I says, well, I'm one of these people, you just get on with it, and I'm not going to let it control me. That's definitely for sure. I'll make sure that I control it, and that's exactly what I've done. And I've never had an issue with my diabetes, and I won't let it have an issue with me.
He copes with it really well. He eats well, and he controls it well, and he knows what to do if there is any complications. So I think he's quite amazing.
Until October last year, I was insulin pen dependent, which meant that I was taking a slow release insulin at night, and then for every meal I was taking a fast acting insulin. And in October I moved on to an insulin pump, which is this here, which is attached to a cannula into my stomach, which I change every 3 to 4 days, and redo the insulin inside as well. And this is what I'll be using during the marathon in Sabla, along with this little thing here, which will be attached to the opposite side from a cannula. This is called a CGM, which is a continuous glucose monitor. At the moment, if I want to find out what my blood glucose is, I have to use this here, which I take a strip out of here, put it into my monitor, pinprick my finger, and put the blood onto the test strip. With the CGM, all I'll have to do is press a button here, and it'll tell me what my blood glucose is, because this through Bluetooth talks to this. So a fair nice little bit of kit. It's almost like having a working pancreas again. So yeah, it's technology's really moved on.
So for out in the desert, actually taking blood, doing the pinprick on your finger, that would have been, well, a bit awkward, but this is really going to change how you're going to be able to do the marathon.
It certainly will. I'll still have to calibrate it twice a day, so I'll still have to do a normal test in the morning, blood glucose test, and do one at night, and just put what the blood glucose is into my monitor. But apart from that, during the day, when I press the button, it tells me what my blood glucose is, and it'll also give me graphs, arrows of trends of where my blood glucose is going, so I'll be able to act depending on which way they're going.
How is the heat going to affect your diabetes?
We don't know, to be honest. We don't know if the technology is going to cope. We don't know if the insulin's going to crystallise with being out in the heat. So I'm going to have to bring my old pen style system as well. So if the insulin does crystallise or if the pump doesn't cope with the heat, then I can go back to my pens. But that brings its own problems too, because insulin has to be kept at a cool temperature. So when you're out in 45-50 degrees, I'm having to carry these special bags which you add water to them, makes them cool, and your insulin goes in that. So it's all adding to the weight, which I'm already going to have a minimum of 8 kilograms anyway, because you're self-sufficient, you're carrying all your own food, your sleeping bag, all your medication, your anti-venom pump, a flare. You're self-sufficient apart from your water, which you get every 10 kilometres off the organisations. When you go through your checkpoints, they give you 2 bottles of water, so that's the only thing that you're not carrying yourself.
So when he goes out there for the 6 days, are you at home here or are you going out with him?
No, I'm at home looking after the 3 children. He's going off on the 3rd of April, so it'll be, I think it's 10 days in total. But no, we'll be monitoring him on the computer and stuff like that. I think it's better we're home here.
So support him
Yes.
right here from Inverness.
Yes.
It's been the opposite of extremities, because obviously, well, I was out running this morning at -7. It's going to be the very opposite over there, but it's still mentally challenging. So although I'm running in very cold temperatures, mentally it's still very demanding. 3 weeks ago, a group of us that are doing the Marathon de Sable, we ran over the Great Glen Way, which is 78 miles over 2 days, and it brought up a few challenges which I've never seen before. We were on the Saturday, the day that we did the 41 miles, we were just going through a break-in before dropping down into Loch Ness, and I was stopping every now and then to do my tests, and took my monitor out, put a test strip in, got some blood, put it into the monitor came up, refer to owner's manual, too cold to read. So obviously I didn't have my owner's manual for my monitor with me, so I had to warm up the monitor before I could actually get a blood test.
Now you're telling us about some of the dunes that you're going to encounter on the actual marathon.
Yeah, one of the days called the Dune Day, they go up sand dunes the height of Ben Wyvis, and they can be 25% in gradient, which is 1 in 4, so some pretty tough sand dunes. But the Marathon de Sable is not all sand. There's a lot of rock, there's a lot of dry riverbeds, there's dry salt plains, which is seemingly very tough going just on the reflection coming off the salt plains and things. So it's going to have a bit of everything, but seemingly it's worth the experience.
Acclimatising to the heat, you're going to be going through some special training for that.
Yeah, I've been very lucky in the Napier University. I've been allowing me to use their heat chamber, their climatic chamber, and I've been down once already with my old cycling coach, who was our coach when I went to the Commonwealth Games, Richard Davison, and we're going back down another 3 times, very close to actually departing to the marathon. I'll turn the temperature right up and I'll just go on the treadmill. Richard thinks that that'll totally acclimatise me for actually getting off the plane in Morocco. That, plus also I've got my own little setup in the garage as well.
Now when you get back, you're going to be doing a talk.
Yes, we've got Eden Court booked to raise money for my 2 charities, which is Diabetes UK and JDRF. To this point I've raised over £20,000. So this event that we're doing is called An Audience with Roddy Riddle, and it's going to be hosted by Nikki Marr from Murray Firth Radio. So she's going to be just asking me questions about how I coped with the diabetes and during the Marathon des Sables, and just about the whole event, and we'll have slideshows and things as well.
And if there's anybody who would like to donate or to sponsor you, where would they go?
They can donate through a Just Giving account which I've got, which is Roddy Riddle's Marathon des Sables Just Giving, or they can come along on the night in Eden Court and learn all about it, and it's going to be on Thursday the 16th of May.
Coming up after the break, we hear from Davy and Sarah from Scooty and the Skyhooks at their sellout gig at the Ironworks in Inverness, and we look back to the vintage car rally and speak to some enthusiasts and restorers. From the crashing of the waves here in Embo Beach to the crashing of the cymbals, we joined up with Davy and Sarah from Scooty and the Skyhooks for their sellout gig at the Ironworks in Inverness. We went backstage to speak to Davy and Sarah to find out more about Scooty and the Skyhooks before they hit the stage to perform to the sellout crowd.
Scooty and the Skyhooks are a soul band which started back in 1982, and after many successful years we got back together again in 2009 for a one-off reunion gig, and we've been playing ever since. Originally the band was based in round about Bewley, Kirkhill, Muirvord. The very first four original members were myself, Scooty, Alan Brindle and Davy Tuach, but then the band kind of gradually changed and started to grow and grow to the present day. At the moment we have 12, is that right? Yeah. Yep. I sometimes lose count. 12.
Well, it's been fantastic. I've been with the band just over 2 years now. In that 2 years we've played some great gigs, and we've played Ironworks several times, sold it out, and we supported Jules Holland in August, which was absolutely amazing. He's a hero, so yeah, it's been brilliant. I've loved every minute of it.
Quite a lot of the band members play in other bands as well, so getting us together for rehearsals or even for a date, you know, a gig that we need to confirm, can sometimes be a bit of a headache working around everybody's schedule, but we get there in the end. The chemistry of the band is really good, and I think that comes across when we play. We're quite a high energy band, and you know, you can tell that the crowd are right up for it and have a really good time. Feel good factor.
I think that because we're all such good friends as well, we have such a good laugh, and you know, it's good fun for us. We really enjoy it, and I think we do all bounce off each other and feed off each other, and hopefully it works.
They really are getting into Scooty and the Skyhooks. There's little kids out there here with their gran.
Well, yeah, maybe because they couldn't get a babysitter, but we do have a younger audience, and it's quite funny at times because probably some of them are hearing these songs for the first time, and don't realise that, you know, some of them are actually cover versions of James Brown or Otis Redding, Soul music's timeless anyway. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of it, and it was always my ambition to create a soul band in the Highlands of Scotland, which, you know, we've done, and we're very proud of it. I think nowadays we appeal probably to everybody, yeah, whereas maybe in the beginning we kind of had our own fan base, which was probably, you know, people that liked soul music. But I think we've kind of reached out, like you say, to, you know, a new generation of fans, plus the ones that come back to see us from all those years ago.
He hasn't got his teeth in, he cannot speak. Give me a cheer if you're from Inverness. Give me a cheer if you're from Rochester. Where's everybody from? Bromrag! Woo! You got a few views over there from Bromrag. Where do you look from? Give me a cheer if you're from Lassie. Give me a cheer if you're from Dingwall. Fantastic. Okay. Here we go.
Since I had buried you, and what I had, I gave them all to
So you're going to be playing a particular song of your own tonight. Can you tell us about that song?
The song we're playing tonight, as you say, is our own song, Time's a Healer. It was the title track from our cassette tape that we recorded back in 1991. So we'll be playing that tonight.
all of the suffering that you put me through. Just tell me this, when is it all going to end? 'Cause I've been waiting for so long. I tried to write you and tried to telephone, but nothing I could say or do doesn't make it any easier. Another sellout! We took a huge box of these in tonight, and they're all gone. Carol and Robbie Henderson have done a great sales pitch. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we've just confirmed with the Ironworks tonight that there were so many people disappointed that couldn't get a ticket tonight. We're going to run a second show on the 2nd of March. Woo! And we've only been confirmed for Belladrum.
Fantastic. We're really chuffed that we've got such a great following and that people do support us, so it's brilliant.
Because of ticket demand, so they've asked us would we want to do another show, so we're doing it on the 2nd of March. I think that people that come along to see us know that they're going to be entertained, they're going to have a good time, and there's a feel-good factor about one of our shows.
I'll forget about your day-to-day dramas, come and have some fun and sing along with us.
Tain Links was the venue for the 5th annual Vintage Car Rally. The wet weather didn't stop the enthusiasts or the public from heading out to see some old machinery restored to its former glory.
The standard of staff was very well presented. Oh yeah, good, very good. Very difficult job for folk to go and judge between one and the other, to be honest with you. Very good quality.
Some of these vehicles there, I mean, absolutely pristine condition. I mean, how difficult is it to sort of bring something back from scratch really and take it up to these sort of standards which we saw?
There's a lot of work in it, a lot more than you think. To do it properly, it has to come right to nothing. Like a nut and bolt restoration is how I would describe to do the job properly. That's taking everything out of there, rebuilding it, put it all back together. In the process, you're doing a lot of repairs, plating. Some of the bits could be difficult to source, but the clubs are excellent. So I would say the first thing somebody wants to do if they're buying something is join that club, because the club has got just a wealth of information. They don't actually have the parts possibly, but they put them in touch where they can get the bits. But without getting the right bits, the car doesn't really get anything, you know. But it's tremendous. The internet, again, is a great source for people looking up and finding bits and pieces. There's just a host of stuff there. A lot of stuff is coming from abroad now, like America, a lot of stuff coming from America. Vehicles are coming from South Africa. You know, it's even coming back from Australia. It's quite amazing where the stuff's coming from.
And obviously the quality of these vehicles coming from the warmer countries.
Yeah, that's it. That's the secret. If you take something from these countries, with the salt on the road in these countries, it really eats them to death. But getting stuff, even in South England, is a good source. Up around the north here, where we get a lot of salt on the road, it really plays a lot of destruction in the body of it, you know. But stuff from abroad is usually a better source if you can get stuff. It was nice to see odd vehicles there just the way they were found. I'm quite a follower of that myself, really. Untouched, unbelievable, after all that years. Yeah, there was some nice commercials there. And also in the, apart from the heavy commercials, the light commercials, especially some of these vans that were there, people had spent, must have spent a fortune to get them into that condition. All I would say, I wouldn't like to be a judge there, really. You must have been scratching his heads pretty hard, really. There was a lot of very, very good vehicles there.
Okay, Peter, can you tell us a little bit? You've got an engine here with you today, but you have another engine that you're working on at home at the moment.
Yes, I've got one that's what is it, 1900 made. One of only 3 ever made. Only 2 known left in the world, which working on just now. Maybe another 2 or 3 years I'll be hopefully have it here on show.
What type of engine is it?
It's an Allen Brothers from Aberdeen engine. Same principles this one here. Works the same way, just it's a rarer model altogether.
So how did you come across that engine?
It was actually on the farm that I stay on. It's always been on the farm, and I just acquired it from there.
So does it need a lot of restoring?
No, I've had it running very briefly a few years ago, so it's not needing a lot of time, which is my big problem. I haven't got a lot off, so that's all it's requiring.
And what would it have done in its working day?
That particular one was on a threshing mill and an old saw bench.
And the engine that you have here, what can you tell us about it?
Well, this one here was for pumping water down at Gainey's house. And what is it, 1914 made that one. Again, it lay for an awful long time, probably 50, 60 years until when I got it, and it needed a wee bit of work done, but it wasn't too bad, I want. And now that's it here.
And it's a very quiet machine.
It is. It was the Rolls Royce of engines in its day.
Join us after the break for more from the Tain Vintage Rally. And Colin McGregor has an arresting experience as he prepares his bike for the long summer ahead.
The club is actually, this is its 25th year we're celebrating now. We have well over 100 members. We run competitions and trials for our vehicles, usually the last Sunday of every month. You don't have to be a vehicle owner or Land Rover owner to be a member of our club, but obviously it's a lot more fun if you do have a Land Rover. We have off-road events other than the competition trials that we run as well, where we maybe go off for a weekend somewhere and we take everybody off, we go off camping, and just generally trying to get people interested in what we're doing and show them a bit of the countryside. The club is as I say, is open to everyone, and you can join us by logging onto our website at highland4wheeldriveclub.co.uk. Just type it in and that'll come up, and yeah, we'd love to see more members. Membership is free unless you have a vehicle, so sign up.
Can you tell me about your Nuffield here?
It was brand new at Levitt Estate in Bewley. It was a cattleman's tractor, and that's all it did. You went out to the field to look at the cattle, and somebody else came out and fed the cattle with another tractor. And a fellow John Ross from Nig bought it from Levitt Estate, must have been 15 years ago. And he did a couple of ploughing matches with it, and I got it after that from a Father's Day present with 12 years ago, and it's all been all done up, and that's it. No much more I can tell you. Just go to the shows and play about. It's used in the croft when I start to work, ground work in the croft, with the turnip and hay, and that's it.
How much work did you have to do to bring it up to standard?
Quite a lot of work. It was a lot of. It was quite good, Nick. It's all original tin work. It's on it, and it was well looked after before I got it, and it's well looked after now. It is.
So do you think you'll do well today?
Oh, I never came for a prize. I came for the crack. I'm not worried about prizes.
Can you tell us what it is that you're looking for in the open and closed crank?
Well, I'm looking for originality and paintwork. Obviously, you'll have noticed that a lot of these engines are in immaculate conditions, which in their working days they weren't actually, you know. But it's a very difficult hobby to try and get originality, because a lot of the parts of these engines have been found missing, in very bad condition. It's a labour of love, and I've heard one of the entrants saying it's an illness. So
a lot of work goes into restoring.
A lot of work. hours and hours of restoration work on the workshop. Yeah.
So other than how they actually look, what else are you looking for?
Well, I just want to try and get where they got the engine, the history of it, where it was made, and what it did in its working life. Most of these engines were used on farms, driving thrashing mills and bruisers and things like that. You know, some of them were lighting plants and estates, big estates, and some of them are quite rare.
So the actual level of entry here is very good.
Very good, a very high standard this year, yes. Yeah, so I'm very pleased. It's good to keep them, you know, the historical factor is good, you know. I mean, if all these engines went to scrap, like what with our children's children, it's like a museum in itself too, you know. So it's good, and I hope it continues. So the one day they'll be really rare.
Can you tell us a little bit about your engine here?
Well, it's a 1928 standby generator used in telephone exchanges mostly. The government sort of bought them for military use and stuff like that. They were over-engineered and were too expensive for public to buy them, you know, so there's not that many around. They're actually quite rare. On the internet I can only find about 10 in the whole country, like, you know.
So this is one that you've got recently, so you're going to...
Just last year or so, yeah.
So are you going to do any work on this one? Or?
No, to keep it original. That's the main thing with this one. Again, with a rough, you paint it all up, but that's totally as it was, so you can try and leave it that way. But that's the plan anyway.
And you've got it wired up here to some lights?
Yeah, 110 volt, producing power, and it's going beautifully.
And luckily it came with its instructions as
well.
Yeah,
it came with instructions.
Well, it's the end of February and spring's fast approaching, and we're all desperate to get our bikes out of the garage and get it back onto two wheels again. I brought my bike here to Mitchell's Motorcycles to get it checked over before set out on the open road, and I'm here with Kevin Matheson, who's the owner of the garage. Kevin, what are some of the things we can be looking at ourselves before we take our bikes out onto the road?
Over the winter, when the bike's been sitting, the tyre pressures go down. Batteries, the bikes are not getting used, the batteries go flat, so you should maybe make sure you've got an Optimate battery charger on, so the batteries are all up, tyre pressures are all down. That's the basics. Go through all your lights, make sure your lights are all working fine. Your drive chain is all being lubed up, stuff like that. You can put that in the centre stand and check if the drive chain's been lubed.
Okay, I mean, I've got a shaft drive bike here, so we can't check a chain on it necessarily, but behind you we've got a bike with a chain, and just take us through what we're looking for.
Yeah, this is a bike that's got a chain drive. It's called a final drive chain, and how it drives is it drives your rear wheel off your bike. Now what you should do is maybe put your bike up in the centre stand, check your chain, just turn it round so it's not tight at all. Make sure there's no rust on it at all, because with it being lying over the winter time, if there's any condensation at all or salt gets on your chain, it will rust. So the best thing to do is get a tin of chain lube and lube it up quite heavy. Make sure the right amount of play is in the chain. There should be 25mm up and down play, so it makes your suspension go up and down fine.
Yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of these checks we can be doing ourselves in the garage before we take the bike out, but it's definitely worth bringing your bike into yourselves, isn't it, to get it checked over and properly serviced.
Yeah, we're quite happy to do that. I mean, we take a lot of bikes in from now maybe to April, May. Bikes have been sitting for maybe 2 months at a time, and we'll do the checks in it. We'll go through everything, do tyre pressures, do all your engine oils, go through all the brake stuff and that, make sure the lights are all working fine, and we'll do that for you, no problem.
Great. So we've looked at some of the mechanical aspects of getting our bikes back on the road again. Now we're going to look at some of the legal things we need to be thinking about, and also some of the road conditions out there. What are some of the legal pitfalls that people could fall into, if they're just taking a bike out from the winter?
Yeah, well, the big one for the police is that, obviously the first nice couple of days that, of the spring, or even just at the tail end of the winter, we see bikes out on the road, and, we go and stop them because we know that people are tempted to, take the bike out. They've not insured it, they've maybe not taxed it, it's not got a current MOT, so we're out and about and we see the bikes out the first of the year and we think, we'll just stop him or her to see if, that they have covered everything that they should have done. People are maybe not keen on taxing it for for that day, and they might never use it again. Might not get another good day for a couple of months, but that's just the way it is. It's got to be done. We're also when we stock bikes, we're looking at tyre depth. Even the pressures sometimes. You spot a bike and the tyre pressure is low. We'll have a look at that. Noisy exhausts, big one for us. We get a lot of complaints about cars and motorcycles in this area with noisy exhausts. So we carry gear in the car where we can test the noise of both car and motorcycle exhaust systems, and number plates as well. People running around with tiny little number plates and all that. We're out there trying to get them sorted so that they're putting the correct size number plate on, and so the bike's easily identifiable.
And other road users, I mean, I'm conscious of it in my car. Not really seen a bike around for a few months, so you've got to give them a bit more space, haven't you?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm very conscious of that. The first couple of times I take the bike out, certainly, after the winter, you take the bike out, and you can't miss me on this thing enough, but people do. That's the problem. So you've got to give car drivers extra space, so that they can give you in effect the extra space. They might be running around with steamed up windows, salt in their windscreens, run out of water for their washers, and your visor on your own helmet might be starting to steam up or starting covered in salt and things like that. So you really need to just give them that extra space. Yeah.
And I guess road conditions can change really quickly. I mean, I've come from Elgin today and it was nice and dry when I left, but coming here and there's a bit of frost, a bit of moisture on the ground, a few puddles around, and you just don't know what's in.
No, you have no idea what's in these puddles. The standing water at the side of the road, could contain anything, and potholes is a major issue. It has been for the last couple of years, and it's even worse this year. And so you drive into a puddle, the next thing you know, you're in a 6-7 inch deep pothole, and there could be ice formed anywhere along the side of the road. But certainly my advice to anybody that, if you go out and it's reasonable nice weather, and suddenly it's frosty, it's icy, or even starts snowing, it's just to remain calm. The worst thing that you can do on a motorbike is sort of tense up and think, oh no, I'm going to slide all over the place, because the minute you do that, start panicking, then things will go wrong if you do that.
Yeah. Obviously, just having been the winter, maybe some of your kit's a little bit old. So we're just going to talk through some of the vital pieces of equipment that you think we should be wearing out there. So Heather, starting with the helmet first of all. It's worth investing in a good helmet, isn't it?
Yes, it's definitely worth investing in a good helmet. If even you're going to be spending a few hours every week out on your bike, it's still good to have a good quality helmet, and spending a little bit of money on a helmet, and it'll last you for 5 years, maybe less, but that is the sort of life of a helmet.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I find since getting one of the decent anti-fog visor on it as well, been really useful riding through the winter and in colder temperatures and stuff like that as well. And moving on from the helmet onto jackets and what have you, I mean, a good sort of Gore-Tex jacket is pretty vital in this winter conditions.
Yes, definitely. I mean, in the winter time, leather really is just a bit too cold. You need to have something with a bit of lining in it. Also, a back protector built into the jacket as well. These jeans come with Kevlar protection around your hips and the front, and also the actual knees have got protection built into them as well.
Yeah, and a good pair of boots.
Yeah, well, again, depends what you're going to be doing. If you're buying a bike and it's worth investing a little bit more just in getting some decent gear.
I suppose we're talking about not just level of protection, but you want your comfort's going to be important as well, because if you're uncomfortable on a bike after doing a lot of miles, then it's going to reduce your concentration levels and all the rest of it, isn't it? So.
And you need to get for a helmet alone for that. The minute you go out in a helmet that's not fitting you properly, half a mile down the road, it's starting to annoy you straight away. So from a safety aspect as well, it's worth having a properly fitted helmet on.
So we've looked at all the theory, now we're going to go and put it into practice. We're all set?
Yes.
Great. Oh dear. Well, that was just a short ride really that we just did, but we saw all sorts of road conditions on that, and you know, other hazards on the road with the bus pulling in, and you know, some temporary road works and what
That's
have you.
right. Yeah. I mean, the road's in actually quite good condition, but it's very greasy. You know, and saying you still need to move yourself about in the road, you know, to maintain position, you know, for maximum observation, because that's what it's all about. Is you know, getting the best position in the road so that you can see ahead, and conversely, so that people coming the opposite way can see you sooner as well. But you're right, the road, there are a lot of debris lying on the road. Every one of these corners with junctions on them, debris coming out onto the road, and you know, quite right. I mean, you can't maintain your line round the corner where you would like to be, but there's absolutely no problem with coming away from that debris, you know, to try and keep the bike as upright as possible and not off the slippy stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose just to try to anticipate hazards that are ahead as far as possible, isn't it? You know,
that's
so
right.
Just keep getting as good a vision as you can into
and just moving the bike out on the road, you know, from the verge to the centre line, and going on to the opposite side of the road too, as we did, you know, passing the roadworks and that, getting out there as early as possible, because that's where you get your best view off the road ahead, and you can see that it's safe to pass. The workmen can all see you. You're in the best position for them, and you can get past them no problem.
And then we finally got pulled in.
That's right. How did that feel for you?
For no apparent reason.
How did that feel for you?
Well, I mean, it is. You know, you see, you know, blue flashing lights in the rear view mirror, and it's not something you want to see. But I guess, you know, you've got to be prepared to for all, you know, for every eventuality, and you know, ride defensively. I think it's the big thing, isn't it? Ultimately,
I
think
think
you're not going to get pulled over.
No,
so.
if you go out there and, you know, as long as your mind. As long as you're enjoying it, but you've still got that mindset that everything out there could potentially knock you off, or you know, kill you basically. You know, as long as you know you've got that mindset, then you know you should be prepare yourself for everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Well, hopefully, you know, many more bikers won't be like me and get pulled in, and we'll have a safe summer.
Okay.
There you go.
Coming up on next week's show, we take to the seas with the Invergordon lifeboat and crew on a training session for an insight into their life-saving service. We visit Eden Court and see how it has evolved from one theatre into a leading arts facility. And Bridge End Primary School children write, perform and release their very own charity single.